The text message hit my phone like a slap across the face. "This year, just your sister." Mom wrote as if she was discussing weekend plans instead of destroying 28 years of family tradition. I stared at those 6 words until they blurred, sitting in my cramped Boston apartment while rain hammered against the windows. Madison had finally done it. My younger sister had successfully turned our parents against me completely. What they didn't realize was that while they were choosing sides, I had been quietly sitting on a secret that would change everything. 6 months ago, I inherited Grandma Eleanor's $3 million Vermont estate, and nobody in my family knew about it. Looking back, I should have seen Madison's campaign against me building for months. Ever since her messy divorce from Derek last spring, she'd moved back into our childhood home in suburban Connecticut, bringing her 2 young kids and a mountain of resentment with her. While I was working 60-hour weeks at my marketing firm in Boston, Madison was filling our parents' ears with carefully crafted stories about my supposed selfishness. The irony was almost laughable. 6 months earlier, I'd sat in a mahogany-paneled law office in Burlington, Vermont, listening to Grandma Eleanor's attorney read her will. The room smelled of old leather and disappointment as my parents and Madison learned they'd received sentimental jewelry and small cash gifts. Then came my name, followed by the words that changed my life forever. To my granddaughter June, who always understood the value of quiet strength, I leave my entire Stowe estate, including all buildings, land, and furnishings. The property was breathtaking. A sprawling colonial mansion nestled on 15 acres of pristine mountainside, complete with a guest cottage barn and views that belonged in travel magazines. The main house featured 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a chef's kitchen with granite countertops, and a stone fireplace that dominated the great room. Floor-to-ceiling windows captured every sunrise and sunset over the Green Mountains. I'd kept the inheritance secret, not wanting to create family drama during Madison's vulnerable time. Every weekend I drove the 3 hours to Stowe, working with local contractors to restore the property to its former glory. Robert Chen led the construction crew, a weathered man in his 50s, whose calloused hands and genuine smile reminded me of Grandma Eleanor herself. His team treated me like family, sharing coffee during morning breaks and asking about my week with sincere interest. "Your grandmother would be proud," Robert told me one Saturday afternoon as we surveyed the newly refinished hardwood floors. "She always said this place was meant for bringing people together." Meanwhile, Madison was working overtime to tear people apart. She painted me as the career-obsessed sister who'd abandoned family values for corporate success. Our parents exhausted from managing 2 energetic grandchildren, and their daughter's emotional needs began accepting her version of events without question. The truth was more complicated. I'd offered multiple times to help with childcare, school pickups, and even financial support during Madison's divorce proceedings. Each offer was declined with increasing hostility. Madison claimed she wanted to handle things independently, but I began suspecting she preferred martyrdom to assistance. My coworkers at Pinnacle Marketing noticed the change in my demeanor during our weekly team meetings. Sarah Williams, our creative director, pulled me aside after I'd been unusually quiet during a client presentation. "You've seemed distant lately," she said, settling into the chair across from my desk. "Everything okay at home?" For the first time, I shared the growing rift with my family. Sarah listened with the focused attention she usually reserved for campaign strategies, occasionally shaking her head in disbelief. "That's textbook manipulation," she said when I finished. "My sister tried similar tactics during our parents' divorce. Have you documented any of this?" I hadn't, but Sarah's suggestion planted a seed. That evening, I began screenshotting text exchanges and keeping detailed notes about family interactions. The pattern became clearer with each entry. My Vermont weekends became a sanctuary from the mounting family tension. The contractor crew welcomed me with genuine warmth that contrasted sharply with the coldness developing at home. Robert's teenage daughter Jessica often joined us for lunch breaks, sharing stories about her college applications and dreams of studying environmental science. "You're nothing like what I expected," Jessica told me one afternoon, helping carry supplies from the truck. "My dad said you're some big-shot marketing executive, but you're just normal." Her comment struck me profoundly. I'd built more authentic connections with these Vermont locals in 6 months than I'd maintained with my immediate family in years. The realization was both liberating and devastating. The first major revelation came through an unexpected source. My college friend Amanda Chen, Robert's cousin, casually mentioned during a phone catch-up that she'd tried calling our family home several times to reach me. "Your sister kept saying you weren't available," Amanda explained. "She said you were going through some kind of difficult phase and couldn't talk to friends right now." My blood turned cold. Madison had been intercepting communications and controlling the narrative about my mental state. I immediately called our landline, something I rarely did since everyone had cell phones. Madison answered on the second ring. "Oh, June," she said, her voice dripping with false concern. "I was just telling Mom and Dad how worried we are about you. You've seemed so overwhelmed lately." The phone conversation with Madison revealed the depth of her manipulation. She'd convinced our parents that my busy work schedule was actually a sign of personal crisis, that my weekend trips were evidence of instability rather than property renovation. Every normal aspect of my independent adult life had been reframed as concerning behavior. "We think you might benefit from some family time." Madison continued, her tone suggesting she was reading from a script. "Maybe scaling back on work commitments and focusing on what really matters." I hung up and immediately called my father's cell phone. Dad had always been the more reasonable parent, slower to judgment and willing to hear multiple perspectives. The conversation that followed shattered my remaining illusions about family loyalty. "Honey, we're just concerned." Dad said, his voice heavy with the weight of someone delivering unwelcome news. "Madison's shown us some of your text messages, and they seem pretty dismissive. We know you're dealing with a lot at work, but family should come first." "What text messages?" I asked, though I suspected I already knew. Dad read excerpts from conversations I barely remembered, taken completely out of context. A quick "can't talk now" in meetings became evidence of my lack of caring. Maybe next weekend transformed into proof of my unwillingness to help. Madison had carefully curated a collection of my most hurried responses, building a case for my alleged indifference. "And we're really disappointed that you haven't offered to help with the kids during this difficult time," Dad continued. "Madison's been struggling since the divorce, and families should support each other." The accusation hit like a physical blow. I'd offered countless times to babysit, help with school events, and even cover some of Madison's expenses. Every offer had been rebuffed, sometimes harshly. "Dad, I've offered multiple times to help," I protested. "Madison always says she has it handled." "That's not what she told us," he replied, and I could hear the confusion in his voice. "She said you've never offered assistance, that you've been too focused on your career to care about family needs." After the call ended, I sat in my apartment, mind reeling from the systematic destruction of my reputation. Madison hadn't just excluded me from family events. She'd rewritten our entire relationship history. My workplace became my refuge during this period. Patricia Hernandez, our agency's managing partner, noticed my distress during our monthly one-on-one meeting. "You look like someone who's fighting a war," Patricia observed, closing her laptop to give me full attention. "Want to talk about it?" I found myself sharing the complete story with Patricia, who listened with the strategic mind that had built our agency into a regional powerhouse. Her response was immediate and practical. "Document everything," she said firmly. "Screenshot conversations, save voicemails, keep detailed records. This kind of gaslighting requires evidence to counter." Patricia shared her own story of family manipulation, describing how her brother had similarly poisoned relationships during their father's illness. "The truth has a way of surfacing," she said, "but you need to be prepared with facts when it does." That weekend, I drove to Vermont with renewed purpose. The estate renovation was nearly complete, transforming Grandma Eleanor's vision into reality. The great room featured the restored stone fireplace, surrounded by comfortable seating areas. The kitchen gleamed with new appliances while maintaining its rustic charm. Guest bedrooms offered mountain views that could heal wounded souls. Robert and his crew were putting finishing touches on the wraparound porch when I arrived Saturday morning. The men greeted me with coffee and pastries from the local bakery, a tradition that had developed naturally over our months working together. "Place looks ready for entertaining," Robert commented, admiring the porch's new railings. "Your grandmother used to host amazing gatherings here. She'd love seeing it restored." His comment sparked an idea that would soon change everything. During my lunch break with the crew, I shared some of my family struggles, keeping details vague, but expressing my general frustration with relationship dynamics. These men, ranging from their 20s to their 60s, offered perspectives shaped by their own family experiences. "Sometimes people get jealous of success," offered Mike Torres, the crew's electrician. "My own brother went through a phase like that when I started my business." "Blood doesn't make family," added Tom Bradley, the plumber, whose gentle demeanor belied his imposing frame. "Family is people who support your dreams, not tear them down." Their wisdom resonated more deeply than any professional therapy session I'd attended. These working-class men understood loyalty and authenticity in ways my educated middle-class family seemed to have forgotten. The revelation came Tuesday evening through my cousin Sarah Mitchell Madison's age, but with none of her manipulative tendencies. Sarah called from her apartment in Hartford, confusion evident in her voice. "I'm planning to bring my famous sweet potato casserole to Thanksgiving dinner," she said, "but Madison told Mom she's not sure there will be enough space at the table. She suggested I might want to coordinate my attendance with you." The pieces clicked into place with startling clarity. Madison wasn't just excluding me, she was managing the entire guest list to control who would witness her version of family harmony. Sarah had been deemed potentially problematic because she might question my absence or defend my character. "Sarah," I said carefully, "what exactly did Madison tell you about my Thanksgiving plans?" "She said you might not be coming because you're dealing with some personal issues," Sarah replied. She was pretty vague, but the impression was that you're going through a rough patch and might not be up for family time. Another lie. Madison was systematically isolating anyone who might challenge her narrative or offer me support. The manipulation was more sophisticated than I'd initially realized. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. Instead of continuing to defend myself against Madison's lies, I would create an alternative that revealed the truth through action rather than words. My final attempt at reconciliation came through a group text to my parents, and Madison sent Wednesday morning with careful consideration of every word. "I'd love to host Thanksgiving at my place this year," I wrote. "I know things have been tense, but maybe a neutral space would help us reconnect as a family. I can handle all the cooking and preparation." Madison's response arrived within minutes, and its intensity caught me off guard. "Are you serious right now?" she texted. "I'm going through the hardest time of my life, dealing with divorce and single parenthood, and you want to make Thanksgiving about you. This is exactly the kind of selfish behavior I've been talking about." Before I could respond, Madison initiated a three-way call with our parents. Her voice carried the trembling quality she'd perfected during childhood tantrums guaranteed to trigger parental protective instincts. "I can't believe June is trying to steal Thanksgiving." Madison said, her words punctuated by convincing sniffles. "I've been planning this dinner for weeks, trying to create some stability for my kids after everything they've been through. Now she wants to swoop in and take over like she always does." "June, sweetie." Mom interrupted, her tone carrying the forced patience of someone mediating between children. "I think Madison has a point. She's been looking forward to hosting, and it would be disruptive to change plans now." "I just thought a neutral location might be better," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "My apartment is comfortable and—" "Your cramped apartment?" Madison cut in, her voice rising with manufactured outrage. "You want to cram our whole family into that tiny space. How is that better than a real family home where the kids can play and feel comfortable?" The irony was staggering. My apartment was actually quite spacious by Boston standards, with 2 bedrooms and an open living concept. But Madison had framed it as inadequate before anyone could consider the practical benefits. Dad spoke for the first time during the call, his voice carrying the weariness of someone who'd already made up his mind. "Maybe June should just take this year to think about what's important. Madison's right that the kids need stability right now." "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, though I suspected I already knew. "It means," Madison said, her tears now flowing freely, "that maybe you should focus on your own life instead of trying to disrupt ours. We're trying to heal as a family, and your negative energy isn't what we need right now." The phrase "negative energy" was classic Madison, borrowed from whatever self-help book or therapy session she'd recently attended. Our mother immediately latched onto this pseudo-therapeutic language. "Madison's been working so hard on creating positive family dynamics," Mom said. "Maybe some space would be good for everyone." The conversation ended with Madison delivering what she clearly intended as the final blow. "I've already planned an intimate family Thanksgiving with people who actually care about healing and moving forward. You'll just have to find your own plans this year." The dismissal was complete. 30 minutes later, I received individual texts from both parents, each offering weak apologies wrapped in justifications for Madison's behavior. Dad wrote about supporting the grandchildren during difficult times. Mom focused on respecting Madison's emotional needs. Neither message addressed the fundamental injustice of the situation or acknowledged any validity to my perspective. The aftermath was swift and revealing. Over the next 2 days, I received confused calls from extended family members who'd been given conflicting information about Thanksgiving plans. My Aunt Carol, Dad's sister, called Thursday evening with barely contained frustration. "Madison told me you're not feeling well and might not be up for family time," Carol said. "But then your mother mentioned something about you being too busy with work commitments. Which is it?" "Neither," I replied honestly. "I've been disinvited from Thanksgiving dinner." The silence stretched uncomfortably before Carol spoke again. "Disinvited by whom?" "Madison, with our parents' support." "That's ridiculous," Carol said immediately. "You're as much a part of this family as anyone else. What's the real story here?" For the first time in months, I shared the complete truth with a family member, detailing Madison's manipulation campaign and our parents' willingness to believe her version of events. Carol listened with growing outrage. "I've been wondering about some of the things Madison's been saying," Carol admitted. "Last month, she told me you were having financial problems and might ask family members for money during the holidays. It seemed out of character, but she was so convincing." Another lie. Madison had been preemptively undermining my credibility across the extended family network, creating a foundation for whatever narrative she might need later. Uncle Robert, Mom's brother, shared a similar story when I called him that evening. Madison had suggested I was dealing with mental health issues and might behave unpredictably during family gatherings. Cousin Jennifer heard I was having relationship problems and had become bitter about other people's happiness. The scope of Madison's campaign was breathtaking. She'd systematically poisoned every family relationship with carefully crafted lies, tailored to each person's concerns and biases. That night, I composed a simple text response to Mom's original message. "Enjoy your intimate family dinner." I wrote deliberately avoiding any expression of hurt or anger that could be screenshot and used against me later. Then I began planning something that would reveal the truth more powerfully than any argument or explanation ever could. Friday morning brought clarity along with my coffee. Instead of spending Thanksgiving feeling sorry for myself or trying to convince anyone of my worth, I would demonstrate it through action. The Vermont estate would finally serve its intended purpose, bringing together people who genuinely cared about each other. My first call went to Aunt Carol, who answered on the second ring. "I want to invite you to a Thanksgiving celebration at my place," I said. "It's not in Boston, though. I have a property in Vermont that I think you'd enjoy seeing." "Vermont?" Carol asked, curiosity evident in her voice. "I didn't know you had a place there." "It's a recent development," I said, keeping my explanation brief. "Would you be interested in coming? You're welcome to bring the whole family." Carol's enthusiasm was immediate and genuine. "We'd love to come." Richard and I were actually dreading the whole Connecticut drama anyway. A Vermont Thanksgiving sounds perfect. Uncle Robert was equally enthusiastic when I called him next. His wife Patricia had been asking about alternative plans since learning about the family tension. "Count us in," Robert said without hesitation. "We've been married 32 years, and I can tell you that excluding family members never leads to anything good. Madison's making a mistake, but that doesn't mean the rest of us have to suffer for it." The response pattern continued with each call. Cousin Jennifer was thrilled to escape what she called the Madison show. Great Aunt Helen, our family's 83-year-old matriarch, was particularly vocal in her disapproval of Madison's behavior. "In my day, families stuck together through difficulties instead of creating them," Helen said, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd raised 5 children during the Great Depression. "I'll be there with bells on." Helen's decision carried enormous weight within our extended family. She was universally respected, and her choice to attend my celebration instead of Madison's dinner would send a clear message about where the moral authority resided. Beyond family, I reached out to the people who'd become important parts of my life. Sarah Williams and several other colleagues accepted, eagerly excited to see the Vermont property they'd heard me mention. Patricia Hernandez asked if she could bring her husband and teenage son, explaining that their original Thanksgiving plans had fallen through. The Vermont contractor crew received special invitations. Robert Chen's face lit up when I called with the invitation. "You want us at your family Thanksgiving?" he asked, genuine surprise in his voice. "You are family," I replied, realizing the truth of those words as I spoke them. "You've been more supportive over the past 6 months than my blood relatives have been." Robert's voice grew thick with emotion. "That means everything to us. Jessica's been talking about you nonstop since she started her college applications. She'd love to be there." The guest list grew organically as people shared their excitement and asked about bringing additional family members or friends. What started as a response to exclusion was becoming a celebration of inclusion. Professional help became necessary as the scope of the gathering expanded. I contacted Mountain View Catering in Stowe, owned by Chef Maria Santos, whose reputation for creating intimate, high-quality events had caught my attention during previous Vermont visits. 35 people for Thanksgiving dinner, Maria repeated, making notes during our consultation call. "That's a beautiful number. Not too large to lose intimacy, but big enough to feel like a real celebration. Maria's team would handle all food preparation from traditional turkey and stuffing to international dishes reflecting our diverse guest list. The menu planning became a collaborative effort with guests contributing family recipes and favorite dishes. "We'll make it feel like a gathering of old friends," Maria promised, "but with the sophistication your property deserves." The estate transformation required additional help. I hired Mountain Peak Events, a local company specializing in upscale home entertaining. Their designer, Amanda Foster, visited the property Tuesday afternoon and immediately understood the vision. "This house was meant for celebrations," Amanda said, walking through the great room and dining areas. "The bones are perfect for what you're planning." Amanda's team would handle decorations, table settings, and atmosphere creation. She suggested using the guest cottage as a children's play area and the barn for additional seating if weather permitted outdoor activities. "We'll document everything professionally," Amanda offered. "My husband's a photographer and he'd love to capture your celebration. Sometimes the most meaningful events deserve the highest quality memories." The photography idea sparked another inspiration. I contacted several local media outlets sharing the story of a Thanksgiving celebration focused on inclusion and gratitude rather than family drama. The response was immediate and enthusiastic. "This is exactly the kind of positive story our community needs during the holidays," said Jennifer Walsh, lifestyle editor for Vermont Mountain Living magazine. "Would you be open to featuring your celebration in our December issue?" Local television news also expressed interest. Channel 8's holiday programming coordinator asked about filming segments during the dinner itself, focusing on themes of chosen family and community building. By Monday afternoon, what had started as a response to family exclusion had evolved into something much larger. The celebration was becoming a statement about the true meaning of Thanksgiving gratitude for the people who choose to love and support us, regardless of biological connections. The irony wasn't lost on me that Madison's attempt to isolate me had actually revealed the breadth and depth of my real support network. People I'd never thought to invite to a family gathering were eager to share Thanksgiving with me while my biological family remained committed to their artificial drama. Wednesday evening brought the final guest confirmations and logistical details. 35 people from 8 different families would gather at the Vermont estate, representing a cross-section of genuine relationships built on mutual respect and affection. My phone remained notably quiet that day. No calls or messages from my immediate family, no last-minute attempts at reconciliation or compromise. The silence felt like validation of my decision to stop trying to earn what should have been freely given. That night I packed my bags for Vermont, knowing that the next day would either be the best Thanksgiving of my life or a complete disaster. Either way, it would be authentic. Thursday morning dawned crisp and clear over the Green Mountains with the kind of brilliant blue sky that makes Vermont famous. I arrived at the estate before sunrise, wanting to ensure every detail was perfect before guests began arriving. Maria's catering team had already transformed the kitchen into a professional operation, with multiple turkeys roasting and side dishes in various stages of preparation. The aromas of sage, thyme, and roasted root vegetables filled the house, creating the perfect Thanksgiving atmosphere. "Everything's on schedule," Maria reported, checking items off her comprehensive timeline. "The first guests can start arriving anytime after 10, and we'll be ready for dinner service at 3. Amanda's decorating team had outdone themselves. The great room featured elegant fall centerpieces with local flowers and foliage, while the dining areas showcased a mix of formal and casual table settings that encouraged mingling across different groups. Candles and warm lighting created an intimate atmosphere despite the large gathering size. The guest cottage had been transformed into a family-friendly space with games, books, and comfortable seating areas where children could play while adults socialized. The barn featured additional seating areas around heat lamps, creating cozy conversation nooks with mountain views. Great-Aunt Helen arrived first, driven by her granddaughter Kelly, who'd flown in from Chicago specifically for the celebration. "My goodness," Helen said, walking slowly through the great room with the aid of her carved wooden cane. "This is magnificent, June. Your grandmother would be so proud to see her home filled with love again." Helen had brought several photo albums documenting decades of family gatherings at the estate, including pictures of grandmother Eleanor hosting Thanksgiving dinners in this very room during the 1970s and 80s. "She always said this house was happiest when it was full of people," Helen told me, settling into a comfortable armchair near the fireplace. "Madison doesn't understand that family is about bringing people together, not pushing them away." The Chen family arrived next, with Robert, his wife Linda, and Jessica carrying homemade contributions despite my insistence that everything was provided. Linda had prepared her mother's Korean-style green bean casserole, while Jessica brought apple cider she'd pressed herself from their backyard orchard. "This place is incredible," Jessica said, wandering through the rooms with wide eyes. "I can't believe you've been fixing this up all by yourself." "Not by myself," I corrected, watching Robert examine the crown molding he'd helped restore. "Your dad and his crew made all of this possible." Robert's weathered face broke into a proud smile as he pointed out various renovation details to his wife and daughter. Seeing him enjoy the fruits of his labor filled me with deep satisfaction. The morning continued with steady arrivals that filled the house with warmth and energy. Aunt Carol and Uncle Richard brought their 3 teenagers, who immediately gravitated toward Jessica and the game room setup. Uncle Robert arrived with his wife Patricia and their adult son Michael, who was home from graduate school in Denver. My work colleagues brought professional perspectives that enriched conversations throughout the house. Sarah Williams connected immediately with Linda Chen over shared interests in sustainable agriculture, while Patricia Hernandez found common ground with Great-Aunt Helen over stories of building careers during challenging historical periods. The contractor crew integrated seamlessly into the gathering, their practical wisdom and genuine warmth earning respect from every other guest. Mike Torres shared construction stories that had Uncle Richard laughing until tears ran down his cheeks, while Tom Bradley helped organize outdoor activities for the younger guests. By noon, the house buzzed with the kind of authentic energy that can't be manufactured. Multiple generations mingled naturally, with conversations flowing across age, profession, and background lines. Children's laughter echoed from the cottage, while adults gathered around the fireplace sharing stories and perspectives. I found myself moving through the rooms like a conductor, orchestrating a symphony, ensuring everyone felt welcome and included, while savoring the genuine connections forming around me. The afternoon meal became a celebration of gratitude that transcended traditional holiday conventions. Before eating, I gathered everyone in the great room for a brief speech that I'd been composing mentally all morning. 6 months ago, I inherited this beautiful house from my grandmother. I began looking around at the faces of people who'd become essential parts of my life. But today I realize that the real inheritance isn't the property itself. It's the understanding that family is about choice, not obligation. Family is about love, not manipulation. Family is about including people, not excluding them. The room fell silent except for the crackling fireplace and distant sounds of wind in the mountains. Each of you chose to be here today. I continued, my voice growing stronger with conviction. You chose to share this celebration with me, and that choice means more than any biological connection ever could. Thank you for showing me what real family looks like." The applause was immediate and heartfelt, with several guests wiping away tears. Helen raised her glass of sparkling cider in a toast that everyone joined. "To June," she said, her voice carrying across the room with surprising strength, "for remembering what Thanksgiving is really about." Dinner service flowed seamlessly across multiple rooms and spaces, allowing guests to migrate naturally between conversations and connections. The food exceeded every expectation, with Maria's traditional dishes complemented perfectly by the international contributions various families had brought. Amanda's husband captured everything with artistic photography that felt documentary rather than staged. His camera caught candid moments of genuine joy, children playing in autumn leaves, adults sharing stories over wine, teenagers bonding over shared interests, and older guests passing down family wisdom to younger generations. The afternoon stretched into evening as guests lingered over dessert and coffee, reluctant to end such a perfect celebration. Some families had driven significant distances to attend, but nobody seemed anxious to leave the warmth and connection we'd created together. Around 5 o'clock, my phone began buzzing with notifications. Social media posts from guests had started appearing throughout the day, showcasing the beautiful setting and genuine happiness evident in every photo. "This is the most beautiful Thanksgiving celebration I've ever seen," read one comment under Sarah's Instagram post. "Your friend's house looks like something from a magazine." Similar posts multiplied across different platforms as guests shared their gratitude for being included in such a meaningful gathering. The photography quality, combined with the stunning Vermont backdrop and obviously genuine emotions, created social media content that began attracting attention far beyond our immediate circles. By evening, several posts had been shared hundreds of times, with comments pouring in from strangers who were moved by the authentic celebration they witnessed through our photos and videos. My phone remained silent from my immediate family throughout the entire day. No calls, no texts, no acknowledgement of the holiday we'd once shared. The silence felt like a final confirmation that I'd made the right choice in creating my own celebration. As guests began their departures, each family took time to express their gratitude for being included and their hopes for future gatherings. The house slowly emptied, leaving behind the satisfied exhaustion that follows truly successful entertaining. Standing in the great room as Maria's team finished cleaning, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment that went beyond hosting a successful dinner party. I'd created something authentic and meaningful from what could have been a day of hurt and loneliness. The estate had fulfilled its intended purpose, bringing together people who genuinely cared about each other and creating memories that would last for years to come. Friday morning brought an avalanche of notifications that I wasn't prepared for. My phone showed 47 missed calls from Mom, 15 from Dad, and 32 from Madison, along with dozens of text messages and voicemails I hadn't heard arrive during the night. The viral spread of our Thanksgiving celebration had exceeded anything I could have imagined. What started as simple social media posts from guests had been picked up and shared by local news outlets, lifestyle bloggers, and eventually national media platforms. Vermont Mountain Living magazine had fast-tracked their feature article, publishing an online version Friday morning with the headline, "Vermont Estate Hosts Heartwarming Thanksgiving Celebration for Chosen Family." The article included several of Amanda's professional photographs and quotes from guests about the meaningful nature of the gathering. Local television stations had picked up the story for their morning shows, with Channel 8 featuring a 3-minute segment about innovative holiday traditions that showcased our celebration as an example of modern family dynamics. The footage they'd captured during dinner showed genuine happiness and connection that resonated with viewers struggling with their own family challenges. By mid-morning, national outlets had discovered the story. Good Morning America's lifestyle segment featured our celebration in their holiday inspiration series, while several popular podcasts reached out, requesting interviews about creating authentic family traditions. The estate's value had become public knowledge through property records mentioned in the articles, with reporters noting the multi-million-dollar Vermont property that had hosted the celebration. Local real estate agents were quoted about the significance of such properties in building community connections. My social media follower count exploded overnight, growing from my usual few hundred connections to several thousand people sharing their own stories of family challenges and healing. Comments poured in from strangers who'd experienced similar exclusion and found hope in seeing someone create positive alternatives. Madison's first voicemail, left around 6 Friday morning, carried her familiar tone of manufactured outrage mixed with genuine panic. "I cannot believe you did this." Her voice shook with fury. "Posting pictures of some fancy house on social media to embarrass our family? This is exactly the kind of attention-seeking behavior that proves you need help." Subsequent messages revealed her growing awareness of the story's scope and reach. By her 10th voicemail, desperation had replaced anger. "People are calling Mom and Dad asking about the family drama," Madison said, her voice tight with stress. "Neighbors are asking questions about why you weren't at our dinner. This is humiliating for all of us." Our parents' messages followed a similar progression from confusion to damage control mode. Mom's early texts focused on hurt feelings and disappointment. "I can't believe you would air our private family matters in public like this," she wrote. "This isn't how we raised you to handle conflict." Dad's messages showed more recognition of the broader implications. "The story is making us look bad," he admitted in one voicemail. "People are asking why we excluded you, and we don't have good answers." The most revealing responses came from extended family members who'd attended the celebration. Great Aunt Helen had given a particularly powerful interview to the Vermont Mountain Living reporter, discussing the importance of true family values and supporting each other during difficult times. "June exemplified everything this family should stand for," Helen was quoted as saying. "She created a celebration built on love, inclusion, and gratitude instead of drama and division. Her grandmother would be proud." Aunt Carol had shared similar sentiments on her Facebook page, posting photos from the celebration with a caption that went viral in its own right. "Sometimes the most meaningful family gatherings are the ones we choose to create," Carol wrote. "Thank you, June, for reminding us what Thanksgiving is really about." The contrast between the joy evident in our celebration photos and whatever had happened at Madison's intimate family dinner became a talking point across social media platforms. Comments on various posts speculated about the family drama while praising the inclusive nature of our gathering. Professional opportunities began arriving by Friday afternoon. 3 major lifestyle magazines requested feature articles about hosting inclusive holiday celebrations. A popular morning talk show invited me to discuss modern family dynamics during their upcoming holiday programming. Several home and garden brands reached out about potential partnerships, interested in the authentic way their products had been showcased during our celebration. A major furniture company asked about featuring the estate in their upcoming catalog, while a kitchenware brand proposed a collaboration around holiday entertaining. The most significant opportunity came from a production company developing a holiday special about resilience and family healing. They wanted to feature our story as an example of creating positive traditions from challenging circumstances. "Your celebration represents something viewers desperately need to see," the producer explained during our initial conversation. "Authentic family connections that transcend biological relationships and focus on genuine care and support." Throughout Friday, I maintained my silence regarding the immediate family situation, choosing to let our celebration speak for itself rather than engage in public defending or explaining. The truth was evident in every photograph and video from Thursday's gathering. Madison's attempts to control the narrative through her own social media posts backfired spectacularly. Her Friday afternoon Facebook post about family privacy and media exploitation received dozens of comments from extended family members and family friends, setting the record straight about the actual situation. June was excluded from Thanksgiving dinner, cousin Jennifer wrote in response to Madison's post. She created her own celebration and invited people who actually care about her. There's nothing exploitative about celebrating with people who love you. Similar comments accumulated throughout the afternoon, creating a public forum where Madison's manipulation tactics were exposed and challenged by multiple family members who'd witnessed the truth firsthand. By evening, the story had reached international lifestyle blogs and social media platforms with commenters from around the world, sharing their own stories of family challenges and chosen family celebrations. The global response revealed how universal these family dynamics are, transcending cultural and geographic boundaries. People everywhere were hungry for examples of healthy boundary setting and authentic relationship building. My phone continued buzzing with interview requests, collaboration proposals, and messages from strangers expressing gratitude for sharing our story. The simple act of creating a meaningful Thanksgiving celebration had somehow become a symbol of hope for people struggling with their own family relationships. That evening, I received the most significant call yet. A major television network wanted to feature our story in a primetime holiday special about modern family dynamics and resilience. Your story represents something powerful about choosing love over obligation, the executive producer explained. We'd like to help you share that message with a broader audience. The opportunity felt like validation that our celebration had touched something deeper than holiday entertaining. We'd created an example of what's possible when people prioritize authentic connection over family politics and manipulation. The television interview opportunity became a platform for education rather than revenge. When I appeared on the holiday special 3 weeks later, I focused on the importance of healthy boundaries and chosen family rather than dwelling on Madison's behavior or our parents' failures. Family trauma often perpetuates when we accept dysfunction as normal, I explained to the host and national audience. Choosing to create healthy alternatives isn't about rejecting family, it's about modeling what love actually looks like. The interview resonated with millions of viewers struggling with similar dynamics. The network received thousands of messages from people sharing their own stories of family manipulation and healing, creating an unexpected movement around holiday authenticity and boundary setting. Professional opportunities continued flowing from the viral story. I accepted a book deal to write about creating inclusive celebrations and healthy family dynamics, while declining most commercial partnerships that didn't align with the authentic message our story represented. The most meaningful development came through personal relationships. Madison called 2 weeks after Thanksgiving with what sounded like genuine remorse rather than her usual manipulation tactics. "I've been talking to a therapist," she said, her voice lacking its familiar edge of victimhood. "She helped me understand how jealous I was of your success and stability. I convinced myself that you didn't care about family, but really I was angry that you seemed to have everything figured out while my life was falling apart." The conversation lasted nearly 2 hours, with Madison acknowledging specific instances of manipulation and lies she'd spread. For the first time in years, she took responsibility for her behavior without immediately shifting blame to circumstances or other people. "I know I can't undo the damage," Madison continued, "but I want to try to rebuild our relationship if you're willing." I established clear conditions for any reconciliation, continued therapy for Madison, family counseling for all of us, and fundamental changes in communication patterns rather than just apologies. I need to see sustained change, not just words, I explained. Too much trust has been broken for quick fixes. Madison agreed to the conditions, though. I remained cautiously optimistic about her ability to maintain the self-awareness her therapy had apparently provided. Our parents also reached out with apologies that seemed more genuine than their previous damage control attempts. Dad acknowledged that they'd accepted Madison's version of events without verification, while Mom admitted she'd been overwhelmed by Madison's emotional manipulation and took the easier path of believing her stories. "We failed you as parents," Mom said during our first phone conversation since Thanksgiving. "We should have listened to your side and investigated the truth instead of just accepting the drama Madison created." Family counseling sessions began in January, providing a structured environment for addressing years of dysfunction and manipulation. The therapist, Dr. Rebecca Martinez, immediately identified the patterns that had allowed Madison's behavior to flourish, unchallenged. Families often enable manipulation when they prioritize peace over truth, Dr. Martinez explained during our second session. Everyone becomes complicit in maintaining dysfunction rather than addressing it directly. The therapy process required months of difficult conversations and painful acknowledgments. Madison had to confront her patterns of emotional manipulation, while our parents faced their failure to maintain appropriate boundaries and protection for all their children. I learned to express my needs clearly while maintaining the healthy boundaries I'd established. The Vermont estate became a symbol of my independence and ability to create positive alternatives when family systems failed. The estate itself evolved into something beyond a personal retreat. I established the Eleanor Foundation, named after my grandmother, providing retreat spaces for people healing from family trauma and building chosen family networks. The Foundation's programs included weekend workshops on healthy boundary-setting support groups for people managing family manipulation and inclusive holiday celebrations for those creating new traditions. Robert Chen became the Foundation's facilities manager, bringing his construction expertise and genuine warmth to help create healing spaces for people working through family challenges. Jessica received a full scholarship for her environmental science studies funded through the Foundation's education program. Great Aunt Helen became a regular advisor and storyteller for Foundation programs, sharing her decades of family wisdom while validating the experiences of people struggling with dysfunction and manipulation. "Family isn't about blood," Helen would tell workshop participants. "Family is about people who choose to love and support each other through difficulties." June learned that lesson, and now she's teaching it to others. My career flourished as speaking opportunities arose from our story's continued impact. I addressed conferences about workplace dynamics and family trauma, helping organizations understand how personal healing affects professional performance. The estate hosted our second annual Thanksgiving celebration with 43 guests, including Madison and her children, along with several other family members who'd completed therapy and demonstrated genuine commitment to healthier relationships. Madison's transformation wasn't complete or perfect, but it was real and sustained. She'd learned to recognize her manipulative impulses and take responsibility for managing them rather than expecting others to tolerate her behavior. "I'm grateful June didn't give up on our family completely," Madison said during the second Thanksgiving dinner. "She showed me what love looks like when it includes accountability." The celebration included many of the same people from the previous year, creating a tradition that honored both continuity and growth. New guests included families connected through the Foundation's programs, creating an extended chosen family network that continued expanding. During the evening, I met David Richardson, a local therapist who'd volunteered with foundation programs throughout the year. Our shared commitment to healing and authentic relationships formed the basis for a romantic connection that developed naturally over the following months. David brought his own understanding of family trauma and boundary setting, creating a partnership built on mutual respect and emotional health rather than dysfunction and codependency. By the third Thanksgiving celebration, the estate hosted 62 people representing multiple generations and diverse backgrounds united by their commitment to authentic relationships and inclusive community building. The tradition had evolved beyond my original response to family exclusion, becoming an annual celebration of chosen family and healing that attracted people from across New England. Madison's children, now teenagers, spoke eloquently about the difference between obligatory family gatherings and celebrations built on genuine care and respect. Their perspective validated the importance of modeling healthy relationships rather than simply tolerating dysfunction. Aunt June's Thanksgiving is different. Madison's daughter Emma explained to a documentary crew filming the foundation's work. Everyone here actually wants to be together, and you can feel the difference. The foundation's impact expanded beyond holiday celebrations, providing year-round programming that helped hundreds of people navigate family challenges while building supportive, chosen family networks. Our story continued inspiring people through book speaking engagements and media appearances that focused on education and empowerment rather than drama or revenge. Looking back from the perspective of 3 years later, I realized that Madison's attempt to exclude me from one Thanksgiving dinner had actually revealed the path toward authentic family connections and meaningful community building. The Vermont estate fulfilled my grandmother's vision of bringing people together, creating lasting traditions that honored love, inclusion, and mutual support rather than obligation, manipulation, and dysfunction. True family, I'd learned, is built on respect, honesty, and unconditional support rather than blood relations or shared history. When we stop accepting less than we deserve, we create space for the love and connection we actually need. Sometimes the greatest gift is the courage to build new traditions that honor our authentic selves while creating healing opportunities for others facing similar challenges. The calls never did stop coming, but they evolved from crisis management to celebration requests, speaking invitations, and collaboration proposals that aligned with our mission of promoting healthy family dynamics and inclusive community building. What started as one woman's response to family exclusion had become a movement toward authentic relationships and healing that continued growing with each person who chose love over loyalty to dysfunction. Have you ever had to choose between tolerating family dysfunction and creating healthier alternatives? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments about setting boundaries with family members or building chosen family networks that supported your authentic self. If this story resonated with your own experiences, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content about healing family relationships and building supportive communities. Don't forget to share this video with anyone who might benefit from seeing examples of healthy boundary setting and authentic family traditions. Thank you for joining me in this conversation about what family really means, and I hope your own holiday celebrations are filled with genuine love and mutual respect.